What is up, guys? Welcome to the Unfazed Facts Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Benson, and I'm here with Jeff Baisch, and we're going to talk some Gym Leader Challenge today. Hope you guys have been having a wonderful GLC life. I know that I haven't necessarily been in the thick of it lately here, Jeff, but I do keep up with it. I know today that we're going to be talking about some NAIC stuff that happened recently, a couple weeks ago, a couple weeks back. We did have, at the time of recording here, I think there was a 1K in Atlanta that you told me about that happened today as well. But I know that yesterday I went to the rodeo that was like near me. I went to go, see some real life people on some real life Pokemon, some Buffalont, some Mudsdale out there bucking. It was pretty sweet. But I also know that TCG Live Gym Leader Challenge just recently re-upped and that you did a stream on it. How have you been successful on your GLC live streams?
Yeah, dude, man, live being back on, or GLC being back on live is great. Like, I can't say how great it is. It's that great. It's just so good. Being able to queue up into a game is amazing. Not all the cards are there. It's only going to be there till July 10th. That's when it stops. So it's on there now. Go check it out now if you get a chance to. But like, just being able to like play some semblance of the format that we all enjoy and just have it on demand and be able to be like, man, this wasn't working in this game, or like this doesn't work in this match. And to be able to think about like the scope of your deck versus all these other cool things and just get cool ideas from other people, because there's so many people playing and like some of them are brand new to the format. So like they have kind of no idea what they're doing, right? They just queued into the trainer trials and they just want to try it out, and they're trying new cards and you get to see new things. Like, sure, some lists are suboptimal, but like it's just the new things that you get to see and enjoy. And I love it. It's just been great. I know you gave it a try last time too, and I think you probably had some fun with it. It's just fun. It's just fun. And that's what I love about it right now. There's no extra setup involved. I can just do it at my leisure. I can do it on my phone. It's just great. Josh.
Yeah.
I love everything about
GLC at your fingertips is great.
Right. I know. It's amazing. Again, a little sad that it's not going to be around permanently. A little sad that I can't challenge friends, right? Because it would be great to just be like, hey, let's run a tournament. And that way the people that are really invested in GLC will put their best list out there. And you could have some like legit testing going on. It's a little sad that like Silent Lab isn't in there and all my spread decks can just be stopped by a simple, bench barrier Mew or Manaphy. Like canceling Cologne is the card I'd have to play if I want to turn those bad. Yeah, but you know what? It's still fine, and I'm still really, really enjoying myself. I've been playing a really sweet fire list. I think I went like 5-0 with Dragon the other day too. Like without DDE, you think that Dragon might be kind of poopy, but it was so good. I was actually really, really surprised at how good Dragon was on live.
Hey, so, DDE's not out of format. You got Crispin. Crispin is DDE.
You got Crispin. I think you got to play Sada, or I should say Sadas. You should play Sadas in an ancient package. There's a lot of other things. There's no Max Elixir, unfortunately. I guess you could play Turbo Patch if you're looking, but like Raihan and Mel are in the format too. Welder, if you're feeling crazy. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do to kind of work around. No Octillery for water is a little rough. I've been trying to, tell people
that.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but I've been playing Kingdra in that spot. The Kingdra that either makes you or your opponent put the hand on the bottom and draw 4. So it's kind of cool, like that card is just like C4 new cards or disrupt your opponent. So I like that Kingdra a lot. And it also does 130 for 2. It's actually a really good attacker in the same vein that Quackwaval is, because I think Quackwaval is like put a card on the bottom of your deck, draw up to 5. And then I think it does like 120 for 2 too. So like it's also a good attacker. So you know what? You can find something different to do. A lot of the major pieces are there, but sometimes you are going to be struggling to find that card, that really important piece to your deck. But I don't think any archetypes are like DOA. Like I think that most things you can find a work.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. And since, Rough Seas is missing as well, you can just throw in an extra card in there as well, such as like a rare candy, or since you can't play the Octillery, it saves room for that Quackwaval and stuff like that. So
Or
Yeah.
hear me out on
Speaking
this.
of,
Freshwater Set. Freshwater Set. Heal 20 from all your Pokemon. It's an item. It does it for one turn. It's all you need. You don't need the rough season.
hey,
Freshwater.
you could do picnic basket too, and it heals everything. But whenever you're playing Wailord, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You know. So I mean, you could have rough seas in the form of a sandwich, or a nice breakfast outing. But speaking of like sub optimality and stuff like that with the format of GLC in live and the format of GLC IRL, there are a bunch of cards missing. So it really spurs the brain of like, hey, what can I replace this card with? And I know that you and I have been talking about doing a podcast about, a series actually of like talking about, what is GLC and what is optimization, what is creativity in GLC and deck building, and like what you can do with that. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go ahead and leave a comment on the bottom down in the comments. But also, I usually say this at the end, or Jeff says this at the end, but I want to say it in the beginning. If you like and enjoy this style of podcast, go ahead, leave a like, hit the subscription, and share it with a friend. That way we can get this sweet GLC podcast out to everybody to hear and listen. It would be phenomenal, and it'd be so awesome if we get some help with that.
Yeah,
I
think we do a pretty good job.
I hope so. That's what the comments say. So sometimes, but
Josh,
I know that
I delete the bad ones before you can see them because I know that you're a sensitive soul. So
you can say delete. That's hilarious, bro. That is funny. Speaking of though, I know that you also said that you want to congratulate a few people for that 1K tournament as well that happened today.
Yeah, so huge shout out to Logan Davis, a winner of the 1K in Atlanta today. Played Waterlist. Logan, if you guys have seen me stream on my personal channel, you know that Logan was doing webcam with me up until recently when I just decided I couldn't do webcam anymore. But, he's a great player, and so it's just so proud of him. I know he's worked hard for it. So, give him a shout out. Give him a congratulations if you see him in the Discord or anything like that. I'm sure he'll be sharing his list with everyone to see. He's been a water guy for as long as I know it. He went to the Full Grip the 3K actually, and he played not water. And I was like, bro. So I'm really happy to see him take his deck and do wonderful things with it. So congrats to Logan. That was, it was a 1K. I mean, it's amazing to see a 1K outside of the Full Grip game realm. So shout out to all the people in Atlanta that were running it. One of them is someone that we see in the Discord all the time, Yuzu Pazu. His real name is Jed. I know that he helped out. I'm not sure the store, but I'm sure we'll get all that info as we can. It just happened hours ago, but I just feel like I wanted to give my boy Logan a shout out. So whoosh, shout out to you, my friend.
Yeah, we're going to have a $10 Unfazed Facts tournament at some point in the future. We're going to meet up in the middle of the U.S. And, any up is $1. $1, make me holla, make us holla. We're going to do and play Goose Holla.
Ooh.
That was absolutely terrible.
I kind of appreciate it. And also, like, a $10 Gym Leader Challenge tournament, Josh, is just going to be you and me. So, like, there's going to be a lot on the line. We're probably both going to lose
so much on the line. I think we'll stream it. It's going to be best of 18.
We'll
best
both
of
be
21.
Playing left and right.
Who's commentating this?
We can while we do it.
Perfect. I would like Morgan Freeman and Peter McGuire.
Dude, give me Shane Gillis, dude. I actually kind of want Shane Gillis to do a GLC. Like, I want him to have no background of Gym Leader Challenge, and I want him to come and commentate on what we're doing. I think it'd be hilarious.
Yeah, we got this big fish going up against this little fire chick. I wonder who's going to win this one.
Clearly the fire chick.
Clearly. But we're going to go ahead and get off into the NAIC Switch Series that happened in North America. And this is where, if you win, you want to switch. And that is really cool whenever you can just enter a free tournament and win a Switch. I believe that deck lists at this NAIC were submitted, correct? Usually, yeah, at these big guys that you have to actually submit a deck list. We had 188 players, 8 rounds, and there was a top 8 cut as well. So we saw, quite a bit of players in this specific tournament. And, 8 rounds of GLC, including top cut, that was quite a bit. I don't know if this was one single day. Jeff, was this one single day or was this over the course of 2 days?
I think it was one single day. So the last time that we did this particular episode for NAIC last year, I think it was spread over 2 days. I think they made them come back. But I think that this time, again, someone correct me if I'm wrong, I think this was all in one day. And you mentioned deck lists needing to be submitted too. I hear there was a lot of confusion about what ban list was being used. And people were like, we're using the expanded ban list, which means that cards like Lieutenant Surge and Hex Maniac would be on the ban list. And so I think people were maybe struggling last minute to kind of figure out what that was. So I don't know if that really changed what people were going to do, but it definitely was a question that I saw pop up and all the different Gym Leader Challenge Discords and social media posts and those sorts of things as we were getting closer to the event.
Yeah, I did see, though, I think they did get that fixed right beforehand where you could submit it with, I think they let all the cards out there and people were able to access, the Hex Maniac and stuff like that. I don't know if they had Force Giant Plants open or not, but, everybody pretty much knows the ban list for GLC if you're going to play at this thing. So,
yeah,
hopefully everything went by smoothly after that.
Yeah, I think it did. From what I've seen, it ran off without too much issue.
Yeah, and then that's a lot of good decks because we got the meta here in this pie-shaped form. We got Psychic, Water, and Colorless. I think Colorless is actually slightly tied with Dragon. You can't really see that white number on that white color too much, but I think there were 21, 22 Colorless, white, and 20 Dragon. So Colorless and Dragon kind of tied there, but we see Psychic and Water, 2 of the most consistent decks. They have high skill ceilings, but they're also, Jeff would recommend these type of decks are the decks that you would play, as a new player to get people into GLC. And sometimes they're the easier cards to acquire. Sometimes the cheaper cards to acquire as well. And they're just, widely available to get. And anyways, we see Psychic and Water heading it off with 38 Psychic and 37 Water. And then we got Fighting in Grass and Darkness, kind of another big piece of the pie. And then Metal, Lightning, Fire, No Fairy, kind of rounding out the end there, Jeff. But did you expect Water, seeing at Full Grip Games, Water being underutilized? Well, not necessarily underutilized, but did you expect this much Water at this specific tournament?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, this is kind of mirroring what we saw at Full Grip Games. Obviously, Psychic was the big portion of what we saw at Full Grip Games a couple weeks ago. And so, no surprise that it's on top. But Water only being one person behind, totally get it. People love Water. It's a good deck. People have had that deck since almost the inception of Gym Leader Challenge. Few changes have been needed throughout its history. So, if I expect it to be at a big regional event or something like this in IC, I would expect Water to be a big portion. What's really interesting to me is that Fighting actually has a decent chunk of the percentage, and that's something that I would not have expected someone to take to an 8-round tournament. But shout out to all 16 people. Again, I think this is the largest ever. I'm going to say that with a question mark, but 188 people for an event, that's huge for Gym Leader Challenge. So again, just the fact that 16 of that pie happen to be Fighting is great. And then the 15 at Grass, Josh, doesn't make a ton of sense to me because we feel like every week we say this repeatedly. Grass just doesn't feel that that competitive, powerhouse that it was when you and I both started playing. It's just not there. It hasn't kept up. So again, I'm surprised to see it up there. Yeah, it's really surprising. And Lightning, man, people got to be playing Lightning. That much water, play Lightning. Lightning is good, man. That Lightning spread list is really good. And then I think that there are some other playable lists outside of that. I'm a big fan of Lightning Zone that plays the Magna Zone. It's basically Rain Dance in Lightning. So, like, it's cool. I'm really surprised by that Lightning number.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned grass being at this, as big as 15, taking a chunk of 15 out of the meta here. Grass, we talked about some pop-off turns in Psychic in the last podcast, I believe. I think grass is one of those decks where if set up and you can get that pop-off turn 2 where you're just evolving all of your guys, grass can be really good if it has that pop-off turn. The only thing that keeps it from having that pop-off turn is that there are so many things that have to go for it. And anyways, grass has the potential to be really good. And I think some people see that. But with the inconsistencies of that pop-off beginning and having to set up over time, if you don't get set up, it's going to be really hard to do anything with grass. But once it does, it's great. I would say that with that many people there, maybe people didn't expect, Avery's, Parallel Cities, or anything like that to get their board pretty much wiped, because those are devastating cards for a, style such as grass. Grass is nothing but setup. And I believe that grass is probably one of the few decks besides, water. Water is also a big setup deck, and sometimes Psychic, depending on how you build it. But grass is and will always be, unless if something crazy happens, always going to be a setup deck. You always want to go 5 wide. And if you don't have that 5 wide, you're going to be just clawing back, using resources to get everything back, like every turn. And when you're doing that and not building, it's most of the time it's over, but you can sometimes make your way back. But, I think people just see some potential in grass. But you said also fighting being where it is right there. I mean, 4 under Dragon being, talked about as one of the best or one of the better decks in the format right now with the new form Drago Box that's been going around. Fighting being that close is kind of crazy. I don't know what type of fighting decks these specifically are, because unfortunately none of them made it to the top 8. But they could be, the new T-Tar, could be just awesome fighting combo, or just some okie dokie decks, But fighting being that cool there is it's pretty cool, actually.
Yep.
But then colorless, we saw at Full Grip, only 7 people play colorless. And this time, you see 21, 22, and that's cool to kind of see colorless trying to find itself again. But it doesn't look, it looks similar, but it's not the same deck it used to be. And we'll see that in a few of these top 8 decks.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you look at the meta share here, and we got Psychic, Water, Colorless, Dragon being the top 4, and I'm pretty sure the top 8 is just Psychic, Water, Colorless, and Dragon list. Like, that's it. Those are the top 4 decks. I think most people would say that's them, and here they are showing up in the top 8 of the biggest event of Gym Leader Challenge that we've had today, with a Nintendo Switch on the line. So let's get into some of those deck lists, Josh. Unless you have any more closing thoughts about the meta on the whole.
I do not. Oh,
right.
We can talk about the top 8 here.
Yeah.
We got Psychic, Dragon, Colorless, Psychic, Colorless, 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 Water, in order of, who did what.
Yep.
So,
yep.
And excellent penmanship, may I add.
Yeah, great. This is from, I can't remember who. It was one of the Tricky Gym Discord mods who happened to be on the floor that was recording all of this. So everything that we owe that we're going to be talking about today comes from people on the ground at the tournaments, collecting deck lists, sending us deck lists. So all of those people, thank you so much, so that we have something to talk about. Brandon, I believe, was the Discord mod. Weeder wrote an article from Cardboard Warriors that we had a lot of pieces from. He was able to collect some of those deck lists. One of the second place here, Tyler Matthews, he tracked down one of the colorless lists that we're going to talk about too. So just like the big shout out to all the people that make it possible for us to talk about these things. So kudos to y'all.
100%, 100%. And first off, we got an honorable mention. Somebody asked about a fire snot list, and Jeff here found it. I didn't know where it was. I couldn't find it, but Jeff, I love Blaziken. I love Rapidash. And we just got new amazing cards for, a fire snot deck. And, reincarnate of the amazing Raikou, we have Blaziken in a more balanced way. And I heard that this is one of your favorite lists now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been playing Fire Snap for a while now, and I'm going to be honest with y'all. It hasn't been up to snuff. So I kind of like had it off to the side burner. And then, the one Joel was just like, dude, I played this at NAIC. I did pretty well. And like when he says pretty well, I mean, the only people that he lost to on the day were the 2 waterless in the top 8 that we're going to talk about, which if you played Fire, you know that matchup is almost unwinnable. And then he lost to the eventual champion. So like that's 3 good losses. So, and this is a Fire list. So like just to be able to say that is in and of itself just like a big testament to how good this list can be. I mean, it might have run hot to a certain degree, but I mean, like I look at this list and I love it. And I've been playing it. I've been making some changes because that's just who I am as a person. But this list has felt great. And so you mentioned the Blaziken. For 3 energy, it does 120 to the active and 120 to the bench, just like Amazing Rare Raikou. It's on a stage 2, and you had to discard 2 energy. Way more balanced. Then you're running Torchic, because of course you have to play it in that Blaziken line. So because you're playing Torchic with a Barrage, which lets it attack twice, you're playing Crisis Punch, which gives you another out to come from behind and win the game. And it's also kind of a cool, nifty way to deal with a Wailord, because 280 damage is going to get rid of that Wailord. So you're like, that's an out that you have. You're playing the new Darmanitan, 3 energy, 90 to the active, 90 to the bench. I mean, 90 to the bench is basically just a free prize. So many 90 HP support Pokemon. So really cool there with the Darmanitan. And another chance to take 2 prizes. Ninetales, again, 9 damage counters to the bench. Way to get rid of one of those pesky support Pokemon. Or a bench bearer if you need to, since it's damage counters and not damage. And then, of course, you're running some good basics. You got Chi-Yu, you've got Gouging Fire, which we've seen in all Fire lists. They're pretty good. Skeledirge here with the Torcerto attack, 60 plus 20 for each bench Pokemon, just as your wall big monster mon. And then the new kind of like hotness with fire, intended, of course, is Macargo. Smooth over, put a card on top of your deck, and then Rapidash that lets you just draw a card. And a lot of people are liking this Rapidash because unlike Salazzle, which needs you to discard a fire energy to draw forward, this one's just like, just draw 1. And every turn, you just draw 1. I like it. It's consistent. It's safe. So I've really been liking the Rapidash, but I do want everyone to know, Josh, and you know this too, I'm a coward. So give me the 1 card a turn. I'm not going to be gambling on those 3 cards a turn. I want safe. That's where I'm at in my life. I want safe. I want eggs, and I want toast. That's what Rapidash is. Eggs and toast, baby.
Butter toast or jelly toast?
What? No, dude. Can't have those calories.
Oh, so sourdough toast.
Oh, of course. Yeah, homemade. Got my starter. I'm feeding it. Just like this list. Be feasting. But anyway, Blacksmith, Welder, Mela, just all ways to accelerate. You got Magma Base in here too. I added Reversal Energy in just as like another way, since Blaziken and Darmanitan both need 3 energy. Reversal seems pretty good in this list. But this list is just so good. And again, you listen to what the one Joel did. If you go on Cardboard Warriors and you find their list, they even mention like it's Snipe Fire NAIC is the title of the list, so you can find it from there. They even mentioned kind of like what their matchups went to. He mentioned, I was like, dude, how often did you get to Torchic Crisis Punch? He was like, a lot. He did it a lot, multiple times throughout the day. And then I even was like, is Torchic and TM Evolution like a real thing? Are you going to be doing that often when really Arven's you're only out to it? Dude, I've been doing it all the time. So I think that this list is really cool. If you've been looking for a fire list, this is definitely the list I'm going to point you to. It's been a while since we've talked about a fire list in one of these like deck list recaps, just because they don't put up a lot of results. Like this one was so close to it, and we needed to talk about it, Josh. I got excited about it.
Hey, I would have gotten excited about it too, and I've been wanting to build this. I've just been so lazy on getting cards to build deck. I already got like 11 decks. I'm tired of building decks. I'm getting decked out.
What you need, Josh, is a locals. And when you have your locals, and you guys know that the Full Grip Games badge reset is in July. And so my locals is following suit. So we're going to, July 9th is our next locals, which means I have to start winning all the badges all over again. That's like your motivation to build the next series of decks, like to change out all your decks. So like this is going to be definitely what I'm going to be trying to win my fire badge with going forward. That's what you need, Josh. Get yourself a locals.
All right. I'll do it tomorrow.
Easier said than done, right?
All right. So we got that, and we're gonna get into that nitty gritty here. We got the runner up. We got Tyler Matthews with I think just the standard Drago Box deck, where you're just playing. This one isn't playing the Kyurem, but they either play the Kyurem or they don't play the Kyurem. A few Dragon basics. We got Raging Bolt for the snipe. We got Drampa for the big damage. Regidrago for the draw 4 and big damage as well. Reshiram gets fire energy out there to your Pokemon. Dredigan, really awesome revenge attacker. And then you got Tatsugiri for the attract customers to be able to, look through your deck, not look through your deck, draw top 7, look for a supporter, find one, put one in your hand, shovel the rest back into the deck. And it's just been a pretty consistent deck, getting lots of results, hasn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, it's just good. And like you think about all the things that it can do, it can hit pretty big numbers. It can chain attackers pretty well. You always hear about Dragons like that hit or miss deck, but this deck has been seeming to hit on all cylinders. And so I've just been really impressed with how long it has stayed kind of at the top here and now. I think Raging Bolt is a big part of it. I'm always worried about how many times people are going to mulligan, but it just doesn't seem to be a problem. I mean, it's running 6 basics. So when you look at evolving decks, they're running anywhere between 6 to 8. So it's still got that same number. And then if you go on Cardboard Warriors, you can see the mulligan percentage. And I think it's right around 45%, which, it's maybe a little less than half. So maybe there's some a little bit of pause there if you're I don't want to be giving my opponents free cards, but you're gonna be on the front foot with this deck most of the time, no matter what your opponent is doing. So it's just good. It's really aggressive. It is the premier aggressive deck in the format right now. Yeah, and shout out to Tyler Matthews. We've talked about Tyler Matthews a ton, and he's probably one of my favorite Pokemon players. He's got standard accolades. He's got top 8s in the standard events. He has won runner-up at this event. He won the CBW in-person GLC event. We in Atlanta, we did a CBW event. He was top 4. He just keeps doing well at Gym Leader Challenge events, and he's an amazing player. And the lists that he picks are good. So shout out to Tyler Matthews. Congrats on the second place. No switch, but at least we get to talk about him.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So close to a switch. I wonder if they got a Switch 1 instead of a Switch 2.
Problem. A Switch Lite.
A Switch Lite. Ugh. Then we got the champion. We got Jake Crampton with the Psychic deck. And this is not such a standard Psychic deck. It has some new things to it that, necessarily aren't popularly played. And one thing that comes to my eye whenever I look at this is the Devolution Spray, Natu, and the Technical Machines. Because these Technical Machines aren't necessarily ones you're going to use early on in the game. Crisis Punch, you have to wait till your opponent has 1 prize card left over. Technical Machine Blindside takes 3 energy to hit for 100. But with Natu, you get to take an extra prize whenever you get a knockout onto your opponent's Pokemon. So you could be deep into the game and just like play your Devolution spray, jump out with the little Natu, hit Blind Sight to something on the bench, hit Crisis Punch to something in the active, and take 2 prizes just because you can just devolute yourself into Natu and have the biggest surprise play. I like that. I think that's pretty cool. I like things like that. It never works out for me because it just messes with the consistency of the deck whenever I play. I can't have too many cute things happening in my deck because that is my hyper focus whenever I get into the deck. And I'm like, I got to do this thing. And if I don't do this thing, it doesn't work. So kudos to you, Jake, for being able to pull that off. I'm assuming that you pulled that off quite a bit, making it to the end and winning the Switch Series at NAIC. But I'm also an enjoyer of bling, and I just recently got a Hex Maniac myself through I think it was like a month or 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago. I don't know. We were about to start a podcast, and I was like, hey, Jeff, I'm about to bid on this Hex Maniac, and I won an Hex Maniac at like 75. I said won. I won the auction to have the opportunity to buy a Hex Maniac for $75. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, enjoy the bling. It's a really good deck. But I mean, I see this Mew here, Jeff, and I want you to tell me what combos you can see being played with this Mew.
Yeah, this Mew's really cool. So like the Mew has the ability. It's the Memories of Dawn Mew. And so it can basically copy any basics attack on your bench. You normally see this Mew played in Psychic Lost Zone because it's just basically a second copy of Sableye that you can, put out there and keep, your real Sableye safe. So this Mew is kind of effectively that same thing. It's actually got a pretty good setup attack. I think it lets you go grab a basic Pokemon from your deck, if I'm not mistaken, as its actual attack. And then it's got free retreat too. So like as a card, it's actually just pretty good. And since you do have Mr. Mime Bench Barrier, which this deck has opted to run, you can just play that instead of the Bench Barrier Mew if you'd like to. So having this Mew is pretty cool. And obviously you got basics that you might want to copy, things like Latios or Iron Boulder. You got Giratina here as well. So like there are some good basic attacks that you can copy in this deck, and you can hit for huge damage while also just having that pivot. This is kind of like, you mentioned, all the things that are going on with that combo. This deck used to be called Psychic Combo. Shout out to Run Jamie Run, who I think kind of maybe popularized this list. He came up with the list, at least the idea of the Devolution Spray Natu, and it was up on the Tricky Gym website for a while. I don't know if it's still there or not. So if it is, go check it out. But Jake's list is just kind of like the mini game list. So like within the game, you've got, can you get to the Natu TM play? Can you use Mew to its best advantage? And then you've got Iron Boulder here. So can you match hand size as you go? There's just so many different mini games going on within this deck. It's really cool. It's really nifty. It seems like a big brain mid-range deck that can just go so many different routes. So shout out to Jake. And again, you see this, he loves this list just by, the sheer price, the dollar signs that are staring at me here. So you can tell that he's obviously played it a ton and loves it. And I love these, the Espeon energies. I love these energies. They're so great.
Oh, yeah. I think those are from, what is that set? Do you remember the set?
No idea. I actually got introduced to those through Twin Leaf. Someone put them on Twin Leaf, and I was like, oh, these are pretty cool. So I
feel
no
so
idea
dumb.
Someone will know, and someone will tell
know
this in the comments section. So,
oh my goodness, I'll figure it out. But yeah, good job, Jake. This, like Jeff said, is like a mid-range big brain deck. You gotta know what you're doing. It feels like to be able to play this specific one, to be able to hold on to your TM machines, because there's not necessarily any way to bring them back. So knowing if you need to ditch it early on, if you feel like you're not going to have an opportunity, and stuff like that, you got to be able to have the capability to be able to see a few, if not many plays ahead as you play this.
Mm-hmm.
So very good job on your win, and enjoy your Switch 2.
Whoa.
Mario.
Did you say Switch 2?
Yeah.
This is just a Switch, baby.
Oh wait, did they give him Switch ones?
They gave them Switch
regular
ones. Like, that's why I got spoiler. That's why I got the meme at the end.
That just dawned on me. Well, sorry, Jake, for your loss.
But whoa, your win. Congrats on your win. You got a Switch 1.
Good job. That was awesome. We got third place, Zach Robinson, and we see the return of the Ursaluna control deck, the one that's, you see a little bit more of the turbo mindset with the Explorer's Guide, with where's the guy at? Where is he at?
Hapu, Clay.
Yeah, Hapu, Clay. Couldn't find him. But the only card that we were able to find that has a little bit of difference in this specific list is that there is no Transform Ditto, along with, I think it's switched over with the Enhanced Hammer from Lion Chin's deck from the Full Grip 3K runner-up.
Yeah.
So this deck, again, making third place, so close to being runner-up as well. Ursaluna might be on the come-up, and as we've talked about it before in the past, like, what is colorless going to look like? This is one of those versions of colorless that has been seeing a lot of success after the banning of double turbo energy and double colorless.
Yeah, twin and double colorless.
Yeah. Did I say double twin energy?
You said double turbo, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, like, where was colors going to go? And we've seen this list do really well 2 events now. For those people who didn't see our wonderful insight when we talked about Lion Chin's list, go check out the other episode. But real quickly, this deck is just all about Ursaluna. Pete Hunt, the first attack, put 2 cards from your discard pile back into your hand. And then the second attack is 3 colorless energy, does 200, and discard some energy from this Pokemon. So, like, you're going to get that attack going, cycle between potentially recycle energy on the first attack, maybe triple acceleration for the second attack, and just either, find a way to take 6 prizes by either, alternating healing and attacking, or maybe find an alternate route between, like, milling out your opponent. Again, this deck really, really, like, you really want to know what your opponents are doing in order to utilize what your deck is doing well, finding which route is going to win you the game. So this is another one of those big brain decks. It good. What can I say?
Yeah.
Congrats to Zach on that third place finish. I think we're going to continue to see this list, and I think that this might be the premier control deck going forward, even though, like, I know that what's the grass deck? Egg Mill gets a shout out, and the people were on Leviathan for a moment. I think where Ursaluna's at, this might just be the premier control deck of the format.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. But also, I love this style of list because it's kind of like Leviathan, where it's a control attack deck where you're just healing, attacking, as you said before. But the idea is to get to the end of the deck to where you can make these combos happen over and over again, where you can kind of keep it going and going and going. And that is just not for me. I'm going to get to the end and I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to deck myself out. I'm not going to be able to keep going. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, but this is like a build your own win con style deck, right? Like, there are a lot of different routes you can go. So it definitely is one of those decks that, like, you get to the end and you're like, you can get lost in the sauce. And I think we've seen that with, we saw that with Lion maybe at the end of the finals of the Full Grip Games thing, where it's like, you can definitely put yourself in bad spots, but, like, you can also put yourself in great spots. And Zach and Lion both did that throughout their tournament run. So it's cool. I like
100%. Yeah. And, to add a little bit, at the end of an 8-round tournament plus top 8 cut, I'm not sure if they did best of 3 or what, but playing a deck that has so many actions and so much thought that goes into it takes a lot of skill as well. That is also a skill. And it's also kind of like just something that you got to train your brain to do. It takes a lot of reps with a deck to be able to keep it going for that long. I mean, they're probably playing 40 to 50 minute rounds, and it's going to last a long time. There's probably 8+ hours of GLC happening, and that's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably not finishing early on a lot of their rounds too. So they're not getting that, like, what those Drago Box players are getting, right? Those easy donks. I mean, to be honest, Fan Rotom might take a couple easy donks now and then, but
Yeah.
like they're playing probably the full match throughout that long day. And again, like this is not a deck too that you're just going to sit at home and goldfish. So many of the lines are contextual that like you have to be actively testing this deck against other matchups to know what you need to do, right? Like obviously, you know, play Parallel against Grass. Like that's something, Parallel's not even in this list, but like that might be something that just like is generally good. But like this deck, you're going to be like, I'm going to test this matchup and this matchup and this matchup, which means you got to find someone else to do it. And then you got to test all those matchups. So Zach put in the work. I mean, he did. Congrats, Zach.
Yep. Good job again. Next up, we got fourth place, David Erickson, playing a interesting Dragapult list. We know that we've seen Dragapult in the past with Icy Briar at, I believe it was San Antonio Regionals with a 3-0 there, and I think has won a tournament since then at her locals. That was pretty big. But we got, you know, Dragapult here, and we see right off the bat 2 cards that we don't usually see in this style of list. You know, we have Gallade, but then we have Team Rocket's Petrol and Skyla. And those 2 cards basically let you search your deck for 1 trainer card, basically. So you're looking for a trainer card, and it basically something that allows you to search for a specific card. And it can be helpful in a pinch, especially if you have Gallade to be able to search that out. It's basically having the ability to search for a specific item. And I think that's pretty cool. We saw definitely seeing that we have success being in the top 4 of a 188 player tournament. And yeah, I think that's really cool, Jeff. What sticks out to you?
Yeah, so, you know, obviously you mentioned the Petrol and the Skyla and like some high, powerful item cards here, you know, with Counter Catcher and Reset Stamp. So like, obviously those 2 cards, Skyla and Team Rocket's Petrol, let you get those 2 cards. And then you kind of look and you're like, well, there's no Raihan in this list, right? So like, what is Skyla or Team Rocket's Petrol doing that's better than Raihan potentially? And you're like, well, hey, those cards can go grab you Dimension Valley, and that's effectively a Raihan. So that's kind of cool and neat to see. I'm wondering how often that came up through the course of, you know, the tournament run. And then beyond that, there's just some cool cards. Obviously, evolution cards are important. And we know in Gym Leader Challenge, you know, the more evolution lines you stuff in a deck, the lower your consistency will be. So Pokemon Communication actually is a pretty cool card here to include. You know, switch one of your Pokemon with one on your deck. And then I'm trying to think about what the other one that I wanted to bring up was. I was just in my head, Josh. I'm going to shoot it over to you.
Well, yeah, you're good. I just kind of noticed something myself. There are 12 out of the 18 cards here that have to deal with Pokemon or finding and searching Pokemon or their evolutions. There's so much Pokemon search here because we have so many different evolutions and so many things to get set up. We want to be able to get those guys out really quickly. And I think Team Rocket's Petrol and Skyla are just 2 extra ways to look for Pokemon. And then you see on top of that, we have a Rizu, Balgai, Arven. Those also most of the time are dealing with getting Pokemon out. And then to go even further, we've got Tulip, which gets out Pokemon from your discard pile most of the time. You're not necessarily getting, unless if you're getting an energy for your Xatu to be able to put down, you're getting Pokemon out with that. So this entire list right here is just how am I going to get my Pokemon out as quickly as possible? And can I use these specific cards at any point? You know, so I think that this is just a really, really extreme version of let's get our Pokemon out as quickly as possible. I don't think I've ever seen necessarily anything like it. I'm surprised there's not like a Gloria in there as well.
Yeah, Gloria would be interesting, you know. I always talk about Arazu as being like the setup card that doesn't actually set you up because it doesn't do anything on turn 1 potentially. But like in a list like this, like obviously getting to those evolutions is super important. And then you do have cards like Cleffa to kind of maybe bail you out in some situations. Like I keep talking about this. Psychic has lost so much just because it got rid of Marshadow. Like Marshadow was your get out of free jail card. right? Like you have a bad hand, Marshadow gives you a look at 4 cards. One of those cards might be able to get you set up. But like there's been no real good starting card for Psychic. Like that first turn, get you going sort of card. And like Cleffa maybe is okay, but it's like 30 HP, so you might be falling behind while you're trying to get set up. But, obviously one of the ways to mitigate a bad, or at least having a bad starting Pokemon is to just have as much Pokemon search as possible. That's where the consistency is coming in. So I like that was included here. So thank you for bringing that up. And again, I think it's really noticeable.
Oh, yeah. And, a couple cards that usually we might see in a Psychic deck. So cards like Super Rod aren't in this. Scoop Up Net aren't in this. So we're really relying on Night Stretcher and Tulip to be able to bring our Pokemon back. I don't think there's any other way to get them back besides that. So it's like, hey, once they're set up, they're going to have to sit there for a while. And, hopefully they stay set up. But, 4th place, again, I'm going to reiterate probably 4 more times. This is a 188 player tournament. So it worked out.
It definitely did.
There's a lot of rounds to be played.
Yeah. Dragapult Luxcape, too, by the way. We've seen Dragapult lists maybe not be as popular as some of the other lists, even though I know we keep talking about them because I love Dragapult so much. And thankfully for us, Icy Briar did too. So does Davin here. So Dragapult Luxcape is just kind of busted if it gets going. With the Luxcape, you can even get around that Hex turn potentially. But that's definitely a way to come back in any matchup. And I'm just curious. I wonder if Davin has any stories to tell us about their run and how many coin flips were just nullifying damage left and right, because that's been my experience. Sometimes you just get hot and you just sweep with a Dragapult.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure if I've seen Amalo and Lana in a Dragapult Luxcape list. I'm not sure if I've seen it. I'm not sure at all, but I've been playing around with it. Kind of just put a Dusknoir in there and stuff like that. Just kind of mess around. And it's one of those things where I myself, I have to make sure and hyper focus on making things happen. So I mess myself up. So I took Dusknoir out of it because I was always trying to set up Dusknoir and it was just messing up my plays. So yeah.
This is your special Whales player and you talking. Wailord 230 HP effectively, much bigger than Dragapult's 150. I don't know if the Malolana is going to be as good. You have to tell me though. Now that you mention it, I'm kind of I want to see it. Do I think it's going to be the greatest thing ever? I hope so. That's all.
I need to put Suspicious Futin in there as well.
Ooh, suspicious Pult.
Oh yes, the Suspult.
Ooh, that's such a good name.
Then we got 5th place. We got Ben Turan. And we got another version of Colorless. In this case, it's going to be a version of a Turbo Colorless. And Jeff mentioned this beforehand. We got Festival Grounds in this deck. And Festival Grounds, therapeutic energy on a Snorlax, Unfazed Fat Snorlax. Usually whenever you use that attack, it's putting you to sleep, and then you have to flip 2 heads to wake up. But if you have Festival Grounds out, you're not being confused. If you have therapeutic energy on there, you're not being going to sleep. My bad, but going to sleep. So having 2 different ways to prevent yourself from going to sleep is actually really good with having a big Snorlax out there. And it's really helpful on just making sure that stays consistent. Because a lot of the time, your therapeutic might be prized. But now with Festival Grounds and this specific deck list, you have 2 different ways to make sure that you're going to, wake up from your slumber, or maybe you didn't go to sleep at all.
Yeah. And that can be important too. Sometimes the first Snorlax goes down and you can recover Snorlax pretty easily. But sometimes you don't want to get back the therapeutic when you have to play your special charge. You might need to get that powerful energy back instead. So just having like a second option can feel pretty great. So I like Festival Grounds. You probably need another stadium too. I'm actually kind of surprised that Artisan isn't in this list, but I'm just now noticing that. But just Festival Grounds and Parallel City seems great as well. This is kind of just like we talked to Ben Morse right after the first return of the Full Grip Games 1K. And he was kind of describing what colorless might look like going forward. And he was like, yeah, you might just play some more HP buff or damage reduction tools to kind of keep your energy on your Pokemon, because you're not going to have as great of acceleration as you used to in the past. So like seeing things like Pot Helmet and Luxurious Cape, like that's exactly what Ben was talking about in that list. You've got Mal and Lana here too. You're just trying to keep your guys alive. Even Charon's Care here as a card, just to keep you guys alive, recycle those double energies potentially seems kind of important. And then the other thing we noted, Josh, as kind of our build up to this episode is that, there's a lot of different basic energy being run here. And we do see Mela in the supporter suite, but there's only 2 fire energy. So I'm wondering, if that number was enough. And it seems like it was, because Ben got top, 5th place here. We heard today that they were, top 4 at the 1K in Atlanta. So like, obviously this list, they were playing colorless there. So obviously this list is putting in work.
100%. But I kind of agree with you as well with the addition of maybe an Artisan to help it with setting up, because Fan Rotom, you're not always going to get Fan Rotom. But if you have Artisan, a lot of the time you'll be able to get Fan Rotom with Artisan and then be able to, set up from there. But also with Fan Rotom, I think in this list there's 2-3 Pokemon that you can get out with Fan Rotom anyways. So it might not hit as hard as we think. But you also see the addition of Lana's Fishing Rod, which helps get a tool back as well as a Pokemon from the discard pile, which is super helpful, especially if you want to get maybe a Hop's Choice Band back for your Cramorant. You can get both of those back as well. You get a Pot Helmet back, Floatstone, Luxurious Cape. Lana's Fishing Rod is always kind of a card that I want to put into a deck, but sometimes it's my 61st through 65th card, and it just happens to be that way. But kudos to Ben for getting this far in a 188 player tournament, and using cards such as Lana's Fishing Rod and Festival Ground, Sharon's Care, and help boost up to the top there.
Yeah. And then you mentioned Fan Rotom too, you being able to just grab a couple, but one of those kind of couple is in fact Dodrio, which is kind of a cool include. And again, another reason why you might want to tool like Lana's Fishing Aid to get that back. And of course, Hop's Choice Band is just so good. So like Hop's Choice Band plus Lana's Fishing Rod, giving you a chance to use it on the Cramorant and the Snorlax potentially. I'm digging it. So yeah, shout out. Good list.
And then after that, we got 6th place. We got Michael. This is the specific deck that got tracked down because it was really hard to kind of get this list. I had no part in the tracking, by the way, but we have it here for you guys to see. And this is a colorless spread. I have not dealt with this deck too much. I have played against it a little bit, and I don't have too much of a problem playing against it, but I still, honestly have no idea how it's actually played to the best of its ability. But you know who we got, guys? We have a colorless spread expert in the room with us. And I'm going to pass it off to Jeff here.
Yeah, I love this list. So yeah, the story behind tracking down this list was, we talked about Tyler Matthews earlier. Tyler Matthews was on the scene. I think actually tracked down this player at like a restaurant later on in the day once we found out he had, like all the other lists. So like shout out again to Tyler Matthews. So they found this list and they were like, didn't have a deck list picture of it or anything like that. And they were like, what list did they play? Like, well, we played Andre Costella's list on Cardboard Warriors, but they didn't have this rufflet. So there's the rufflet here on screen. They didn't have the chirp rufflet, which they do agree is the optimal rufflet. They were playing something else instead, but the other 59 cards are exactly this list. So colorless spread, again, you're probably thinking there's so many other things you could be doing. but this is the best thing to be doing in colorless, at least the most fun thing in my opinion. So Spinda is like the key to your game plan. Spinda is your only real early spreader. So Spinda for 1 energy does 10 to all of your opponent's Pokemon, and it confuses the active. So it's kind of like a good way to get going early and kind of like, give your opponent kind of the business and kind of sidetrack them from their game plan if they can't attack in, or if they do attack in, get some extra damage counters on that confusion coin flip. Now, because Spinda is your only real option in the early game to get some damage spread, you are playing Ditto, which copies any basic attack in the discard pile. So Ditto typically ends up being your Spinda, but the Ditto can also be some of your other really good big basics in this deck. The one to kind of point out first is Iron Jugulis. And Iron Jugulis has its first attack is 3 colorless energy, and it does 50 to 3 different Pokemon that have damage counters on it. So that's a good way to kind of like, you Spinda first, and then maybe you accelerate some energy on the Iron Jugulis. You can kind of get some early KOs, or your opponent might not be expecting you to set up like a Devo play, which this deck is running TM, Devolution, and Blindside. Because not only do you have the Jugulis and the Spinda, but you've also got Barrage, Bunnelby that can attack twice. It's got some useful attacks going for it, but of course you're going to try to use that with both of those TMs that I just mentioned. And then beyond what I just said, the next best spreader is going to be Hisuian Braviary that's got a free attack, which lets you kind of put those attachments somewhere else. The free attack is put 3 damage counters on things that already have damage on them. And then that Rufflet that we mentioned, there's a setup attack, but of course that wasn't being played in the list that top aided. Beyond that, you just got the best engine between Skwovet and Babarrel. And then this list was running Minccino as well. And you've got the Instruct Oranguru. Some cool things going on for the list. Counter energy, counter gain. You've got tons of fire energy because you're also playing Welder. And then this is a Lieutenant Surge's strategy deck too, so that you can do multiple supporters in the same turn. So it's really cool. I think this deck probably surprised a lot of people. I don't think that they were expecting colorless spread. Because Josh, you're a pretty big GLC head, and if you haven't really played against this list too much, I can imagine that like 99% of Gym Leader Challenge players have not played against this list.
Yeah, I mean, all I knew whenever I was playing up against this is that I didn't like Spinda, so I'd take it out as quickly as possible. And then depending on the support Pokemon, I was like, I guess I'll just take out these support Pokemon. Well, what does that Rufflet do? What's it going to go into? Oh, this Braviary. Oh, 3 damage. Oh, dadgummit. So, yeah, you can definitely be surprised with this deck if you haven't played against it too often or at all. So it just it helps to have just a skeleton information of like, hey, maybe I should take out support Pokemon or just like immediate threats. So yeah, I mean, this was a good list. 6th place out of all those 188 people. Again, I said I want to reiterate every time because it's actually a pretty big tournament for GLC.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about the list, and Josh, we talked about this in the build-up too, Silent Lab. Silent Lab is needed in like every spread deck. We know that to turn off bench barrier, but this is one of those decks that you have to be super careful when you play down the Silent Lab because like half your basic Pokemon have abilities. So like by throwing down a Silent Lab, you're turning off Skwovet. So you basically have to be in I need to play Silent Lab situation to even consider playing it at all. So just a thought as you're thinking about maybe buying this list or getting this list, those are some plays that could definitely mess you up. And I've seen that happen before.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, with the Silent Lab, you'd only be playing it if you're attacking with Spinda, possible Bunnelby play, and Iron Jugulis. So other than that, you're not using it with Braviary because it's 3 damage counters. You're going to be able to get through things. So as long as you get enough damage, maybe with a Hex play or anything like that, you can take out whatever bench barrier it is with Braviary without having to worry about Silent Lab. But yeah, be aware of your Silent Lab shenanigans.
Don't turn off your own abilities.
Don't do it. Then we got 7th place, Alex Kalbach. Is that how you would say that, Jeff?
Yeah, call batch. I wanted to make a pun on like call me back, but I don't know. There's something there.
Alex
Yeah.
Callback. Oh my goodness. I hope that's how you pronounce it. But we'll probably get it in the comments. But we have another version of a turbo-ish colorless list. And we see opting for the Dodrio, Cinccino, Bibarel, Squovit, Instructor Rangaroo, all those fantastic, one of the best draw engines in GLC with the ability to use Squovit, get Instruct, use some cards Bibarel, use some cards Cinccino, and be able to just draw out your whole deck in one turn. It's really quite something. I enjoy doing it every now and then. Dodrio having the ability to be able to just draw one as well without having to worry about drawing up two. But we see this Lonely Max Elixir right here, which is basically, I think it's draw top 5, attach any energy cards that you see to your Pokemon any way you like. Is that how it's used?
Yeah, but I think it's got to be basic energy.
Basic energy?
Yeah. So you're looking at those four lone fire energy. That's how you're going to max elixir them.
Yeah, so I just think about Electric Generator and Standard every time I see Max Elixir, because it's like draw 5, attach up to 2 lightning energy to your lightning Pokemon any way you want. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just one of those, just kind of another version of what colorless might look like. I think colorless is still going through its ebbs and flows right now. We see Cypher Maniac's code breaking right now to, help us draw 2 specific cards that we're looking for, either with Bibarel, Instruct, or Cinccino, being able to use those Pokemon to be able to draw exactly what we want to into with Cypher Maniac. And then you have cards such as, Reset Stamp, and having the ability to disrupt and maybe boss at the same time. And just these things that you see in color that's coming up and might work out over time, might not work out over time. So right now it's just in its growing era.
I mean, and still
comeback era.
There are 4 colorless lists in this top 8, right? So here we are being like, who's figuring it out? I mean, and they're very unique lists too, right? So colorless is still good. They still are some of the best support Pokemon that we have in this format. So it's no surprise. Consistency is going to get you far in a big tournament. And you brought up the Max Elixir. It's actually kind of hilarious how you're running Cypher Maniac's code breaking, which lets you grab 2 cards and put them on top of your deck. It's funny how the Dodrio actually kind of plays into this, right? You stack Max Elixir, you stack the energy on top. Well, if you Cinccino, you'd have to take both those cards, right? Dodrio lets you just take the Max Elixir and then get into that fire energy so you can get that extra attachment. And sometimes that one extra attachment is going to be the difference between having 2 attackers, creating a checkup situation or checkmate situation or something else. So I really like that. I really like that include in this list. Obviously the hops package has made those things a little bit easier too with your extra attachments. And the one thing I will say, just to kind of piggyback off of what Andrew Mahone has said in the past, was one of the reasons why he was thinking about banning DC or Twin. He brought up as a joke was that he hated the Cyclizar. He thought that the Cyclizar was such a mid card, and he kept bringing up about how DCE made that card playable. We haven't seen that card played in any of these lists, right? Like people just have dropped it. We see Kangaskhan in this list, so it's just kind of funny how like what Andrew has said, and obviously it's hard to talk about GLC without talking about the founder of our format and what he's setting them for. It's just interesting to see how his change has kind of brought about that exact thing that he was worried about.
Yeah, and I think there for a little bit, maybe Kangaskhan was out and now it's back in, I believe. I think it left for a little bit and came back in. I still don't think it's like the absolute best card. It's still a good revenge attacker. You can get it going in one turn, especially if you have Mela or a Raihan or anything, a play like that, where you can get an attachment and then attach from turn. So it's super helpful, Kangaskhan being able to be back into the list. But I always think it's funny how many tools colorless tends to play. It always seems to play like a high, at least like a minimum 4 tools, minimum 5 tools. It just seems like such a large amount of tools, and it's I love it.
I'm telling you, dude, was when you have like Squovit, you can just get rid of so many dead cards. Like, you can play cards that aren't going to play in your consistency when your on-board consistency is just two basics, right? Skwovet and Oranguru can just kind of bail you out in a lot of situations. So, again, most decks would be like, you're running 5 tools, but here in colorless, we're not even batting an eye just because of all that on-board draw potential that this deck has.
Yeah, and something else to add, I know that Adventure Bag has been a card that's been seeing a lot of popularity, especially in colorless decks or decks that play lots of tools, and we don't necessarily see that in this specific list. But like you said, maybe it's not needed with the ability to be able to, put them at the bottom of the deck with Skwovet and just find them again really quickly because you're kind of just digging through turn after turn. So, yeah, again, congratulations for the top 8 placement at 7th place. And, I'm just assuming that Max Elixir did a lot of work since we got that single Max Elixir card right there in the center.
I know, right? A lot of conjecture here, but it is all there by its lonesome on our screen. And it's kind of dead center too. It's it's the star, right? So I have to think that Max Elixir put in some work. Could you just imagine just hitting it every time, just blind? Turn 1, going Max Elixir, attached to Snorlax DTE. That's the colorless of old.
Yeah, out of 4 too, out of 4 energy, just playing it straight up.
Yeah.
That'd be wild. After that, we got, 8th place, Christopher Abreu here with Seismitoad. So we got some frogs and toads making its way into NAIC Switch Series. I believe this is, very similar to the one that we've seen at Full Grip Games over the last year, I think. Seismitoad has the ability in the active, it makes your opponent's Pokemon have to have one more colorless attachment to be able to attack. So it slows down your opponent, but it also has a pretty good attack for 2 water. Hits 120 plus 120 the next turn. So if you can get that ramp up and it stays in the active and your opponent can't respond, Seismitoad is really just one of those cards that can just take off and just snowball as you go on. And then Inteleon, we know every water deck's going to play. If you're not playing it, that's wild and crazy because Inteleon is one of the best cards ever printed in any format. Whether whatever format you're playing, you're most likely playing Inteleon in that list. And it's super helpful. Lets you search for trainer cards, any trainer cards, supporter, item, ball search, all sorts of awesome cards. We have Octillery for the draw, Palafin for its low-cost attack, has 1 for 1 energy that you can play 30 to active, 30 to bench, and then 2 if it comes from the bench to the active, you can hit 210 during that turn. So awesome. And then you got your low-maintenance attackers, Basculegion and Frostlass to match. But, just your standard Seismitoad frog deck, and I love seeing any type of water. Side note, I wish it was a whales deck, but I always love seeing water, do well in a tournament because sometimes, a Full Grip 3K, we didn't see, we haven't seen water, I don't think, in the top 4, top 8 that much usually, and now we see it win the Full Grip 3K, and now we see it at the top at this place. So it's really cool to always see water doing well because it has so much going for it. It just hasn't been seeing as much success, unfortunately.
It's a lot of fire players right now that are it does well every week at my locals. That's why I don't have my fire badge. But this water is really cool. What's more disruptive than punching you really hard on turn 2? And that's what this deck does really well. And then, it can be disruptive beyond that while still remaining aggressive with Seismitoad. So this is just one of those lists that's just really good at a lot of different things. Inteleon's the backbone. You mentioned it being one of the most powerful cards. It's definitely in my top 2. It's Fan Rotom and the Inteleon line are just 2 of the most busted things you could be doing in Gym Leader Challenge. And all these cards are all over the place in this top 8. I just love the amount of switch outs that this deck has. Not only does it have Escape Rope and Guzma, but you also get a chance to see, Tate and Liza, which is such a strong and flexible card that you see get dropped from a lot of lists. But here you see it's pretty good at like getting them set up early if they need to shuffle draw 5, but also you can afford to just use it as a switch out when you can artillery and draw some more cards. And of course, Switch Raft here with that switch and heal for water Pokemon. Just such a good, powerful type specific card in this list. The cast form too that does have free retreat is kind of just there for its free retreat. It's got a 2 energy attack that just spreads 20, but that spreading 20 might be worth it to clean up some attacks, because you mentioned Palafin's attack. Inteleon has some incidental spread, and some of these that hit like 120 might miss on KOs. Well, you might have a chance for cast form to just come up there and take a surprise KO too. So like this list is really cool. And then beyond all of that, if you're trying to hit your boy jumbo size Wailord, Palafin plus Muscle Band does the job. Now you are missing out on new Wailord with that number, but I'm sure you can find a way to skill in that another 10 damage that you need to, if needed, with this list. So I like this list a lot. Have yet to play against it in my Gym Leader Challenge journey, which is amazing to me with how much Gym Leader Challenge I play. So Josh, you might have to make it a possibility. I need to play against this list. Show me the way.
I had this deck somewhat built at one point, and then the Journey Together Wailord came out, and I tore it apart. So now I just got two tanky decks, 2 tanky water decks, because I couldn't take the other one together.
Water's just got too many options, man.
I know there's way too many options, but something I did notice, and I had to look back at some other deck lists, that there are 3 lists that aren't necessarily playing Hex Maniac, and we view Hex Maniac as a card that's just like really important to play, because there's so much ability dependent decks out there, and it's so important to be able to shut those abilities off. And we see in this specific deck as well that Hex Maniac is not a part of that. And sometimes there are times where you don't want to shut off your own abilities, but it's also very helpful to shut off your opponent's ability. So I'm wondering if that was like a thought process, because there's not that many abilities to be used in this specific deck besides the the Inteleon, Seismitoad, and Octillery lines. Manaphy is important, but you'll know not to use that at times. And then looking back as well, I think 5th place Ben Tran did not play Hex Maniac, and the Psychic list with the Dragapult did not play Hex Maniac. And I find that decently interesting.
Yeah, I actually think that makes a ton of sense to me. Obviously, you can fiddle around some abilities of your own that you want to keep active and just like time your Hex Maniac appropriately, right? Especially in Psychic lists, because you have Gallade. But like you want Seismitoad's ability to be active, right? So like playing Hex could actively hurt your game plan in that situation, and then the same thing could be true of Dragapult, right? So those lists make a ton of sense. And this list that we're talking about, Chris's list, and then of course the colorless list that you're talking about too, just want to be aggressive. So like what's better than getting rid of your opponent's abilities, getting rid of them and taking a prize? And that's what these aggressive lists can do too. So it makes a ton of sense. Yep. But I'm with you too. Like we see Hex a lot. We talk about Hex Maniac a lot. It's one of those cards that's kind of like format defining to a degree. It's going to stop a lot of strategies from working or making comebacks, or it's going to at least slow people down. So it's really cool to see some people drift away from it and still have success. But of course, if only 3 lists aren't playing it, the other 5 are. So it did have a lot of success at this tournament as well.
Yeah, you kind of see that with live as well, where we don't have access to Hex Maniac. So we have a whole format without that. And like Versus Seeker and just cards like that are super important that you can't play in the live format of GLC. So it's always interesting whenever you don't see it in the IRL format. I remember whenever I didn't play Hex Maniac, and I found myself wanting it more and more and more over time. So I eventually made some cuts to be able to fit Hex. So
yeah.
Maybe they're in that period, or maybe they're, they've ascended beyond what I could ever fathom.
Yeah. I've always wondered, like, in a world where, like, you could play one Hex Maniac, but it's, like, infinitely harder to play two, would it still be quite as effective? Because, like, really, like, the real dagger in a lot of games' backs is the Hex via Seeker Hex play, where you're just, like, completely putting your opponent in a situation where they can't come back, and you just pull ahead so much. And so, like, in a world, I want to be able to, like, have one or the other, and then you go to, like, live, where you can't have either. So it's just, like, it'd be cool to see, like, maybe if live was, like, this happy medium where we had one, and just could see how it feels. Not advocating that we get rid of both, because I actually kind of enjoy Via Seeker and Hex Maniac both existing in the format, being answers to, you know, I don't want to say problematic cards, but powerful cards. But like it would be interesting to just like see for a while, what if we didn't have one of those cards instead of just being all of a sudden cold turkey without both?
I don't want to be a part of that world.
Too bad, Josh. We're streaming tomorrow. See you at 7.
Because if we all do that, it might be banned, and we don't want to see that banned.
No, we don't.
And now we get to the meme
The one we spoiled later.
that I see in a whole different way now. Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture. I was thinking, yeah, maybe they are the same picture, because I've been hearing a lot of things about the Nintendo Switch 2 that's, you know, off-putting, and maybe this reminds them of the one. That's funny. But now it's even more funny knowing that the Switch Series gave away just a regular Switch and not a Switch 2. That was a perfect opportunity to give a Switch 2. They have the money for it, unless if they don't, which would be crazy. But it makes so much more sense to me. I love it. Thank you for enlightening me with that.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's a good meme too. Fitting meme for the Switch Series. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to see the new Switch 2. I can imagine that they probably like have the events planned for the year, right? And like when they send like all the tournament package information to who's ever running that particular regional or IC at the time, they're probably like, here's the package, and it probably just has a Switch. So maybe next year it'll be a Switch 2 series. Do you think they'll change the name, or do you think it will just continue being Switch Series? Will they even have enough product to get people the Switch 2 by then? I'm having trouble finding it in my neck of the woods, so there's that. Who knows? Anyway, get a Switch 2.
I vote for Switch Series. Switch 2 series doesn't roll off the tongue as well.
Go back to the Wii U. The Wii U series. Everyone will love it.
Wii series. All right. Well, that'll be it for the NAIC podcast and tournament roundup that we just had. So it's been awesome. Hope you guys have a wonderful week. Remember to stay thankful, and we'll see you guys in the next one.